Hello, and thank you to all the Girl Scouts for asking me to help you out with World Thinking Day. And I'm so excited that you guys are celebrating it and trying to learn more about what I do and what we do as Peace Corps volunteers, specifically here in Cambodia, and the life of people here in Cambodia. So, my name is Lekana, and I am 26 years old. I'm a Peace Corps volunteer in the Kingdom of Cambodia. I'm going to go through and try to answer some of the questions that you sent to me. And the first one that I have is what made me want to be a Peace Corps volunteer? And I have wanted to be a Peace Corps volunteer for years. It took a lot of what I already really loved and put it into one organization. I liked that with Peace Corps, you are not living in a foreign country in the capital with a bunch of other expats, that you're living in a village, in a community, and you're trying to get to become part of a totally different culture. You're learning the local language, and then you are taking what you learn and trying to share it to teach people in America about the culture that you've become a part of, and you're trying to teach them about Americans. And the idea is that that will promote peace, because when you live with people, when you understand other people, it makes you connect with them on a different level. Why did I choose Cambodia if I got to choose? I did get to choose. In Peace Corps, it recently changed. In the past, if you signed up for Peace Corps, you applied, and then they told you where you were going, and that's the country you went to. I was among the first group that had a choice. And so now when you apply, you can say my first choice country is this, my second choice, and my third choice. Or you can say I'm open to go anywhere. And a lot of people still do choose that option. You can also look at different job availabilities in the different countries. So I knew I wanted to go to Cambodia. I had been here before in 2012. I came in 2012. And I have always been a big reader. I love to read. I love reading about different countries and different cultures. And I read about Cambodia and it just captured me. I knew I wanted to visit here. I just felt pulled to come to Cambodia. So in 2012, I decided to get a TESOL certification, which is to teach English as a second language or to speakers of other languages, usually in other countries. And it's a 4-week program to get this certification. A lot of different countries have programs to do this, and so you really could pick anywhere in the world. You could stay in the United States and do it, or if you wanted to go to a different country, you could do it there. I knew I wanted to go to Cambodia. I picked to get the certification here, and as soon as I was in Cambodia, I just absolutely fell in love with the country, and especially the Khmer people. Cambodia has a very difficult recent history, and the Khmer people are just some of the strongest, most hardworking, kind-hearted people you're ever going to meet. They could have hardly anything, and they're still going to invite you into their home and invite you to eat and share what little they have with you. I was also teaching. I did some practical teaching at an orphanage in Cambodia. I have another video that does show a little bit about being at the orphanage. And when I left, I just was so sad to leave and so badly wanted to come back. I wanted to be a Peace Corps volunteer. I wanted to come back to Cambodia. So when I applied, my first choice country was Cambodia. And then I didn't pick a second or third choice country. I said anywhere after that. I got an interview for the Cambodian position. And they did ask me in my interview, would you be open to serving in another country? And I said absolutely, because I was signing up to be a volunteer. And wherever they thought I could best serve Peace Corps and best serve locals, that's where I should go. I obviously wanted to come to Cambodia, but I trusted in whatever was going to happen. Wherever I ended up was going to be amazing and was going to be where I was meant to be. I was either going to go back to a country that I loved or get to experience a totally new culture, and either way would be great. I ended up getting the invitation to serve in Cambodia and took that, and I was thrilled. It's been a wonderful experience. How long have I been in Cambodia? I have been here now for about a year and a half. Peace Corps service is a 27-month commitment. You have about 2 months, a little bit more of training, and then you go to your permanent site for about 2 years. And so I have until September left. It's February now. Most people will go home who came with me in August or September. I am hoping that I'll be able to extend and stay for another year. I absolutely love what I do. How do I have money if I am a volunteer? So Peace Corps takes very good care of us, and we are given a monthly stipend. The stipend is enough to pay our host families, because in Cambodia we all do live with host families, and so I can pay them. I get a little bit of money of leave allowance. We get 2 leave days per month of working, so you can save some of that money if you want to do any kind of traveling. It's not a lot. And then we get enough money to live. We don't make a ton of money. It's not about the money because we are volunteering, but we get enough that we have enough food to eat. We have everything that we need. We're not supposed to be living like expats here. If that's what we wanted, we can get a job in Phnom Penh, in the capital, and make actual money. Here, we're supposed to live at the same standards as our community, not above them. And that's been a good thing. How is life different for girls K to 5, and what isn't available to them that is available to us? In the video about Sophia's life, we really show a lot about the daily life of a girl in 4th grade at age 10 in Cambodia. So I'd recommend checking that one out. And then some things that aren't available, and I'll say it in general for all people, not just the K to 5, that we don't really think about in America because it's always available to us, is in a lot of places in the country, access to clean water is limited. And there are different organizations who will work with local villages trying to create water treatment facilities, trying to create wells, because access to clean water should be something that everybody has. Bathrooms. We don't think about bathrooms a lot in the US because we just have them. However, I work at a high school. It's grades 7 to 12. And for over 1,000 students, plus the teachers and faculty, we have one bathroom that works, one bathroom that has water. It's not always available because it's within a building that is locked. And so if the person with that key does not come to the school, then we have no bathrooms at the school. And so I did a survey with 400 of my students, and out of all the students surveyed, for the girls, 87% of my female students said that they have missed school due to lack of working bathrooms and female hygiene issues. So in the United States, we don't have that. That's never an issue. We don't have girls who can't go to school because they don't have a bathroom at the school. Whereas in Cambodia, that's actually a major issue, and a lot of Peace Corps volunteers work on building bathrooms within the high schools and the primary schools so that we don't have this huge number of girls not getting an education. Another thing we have in the US, we kind of take for granted is an adequate garbage disposal system. We don't have that here. All of our garbage is burned. So we'll put it all in a big pile and we'll burn it all, which is terrible for the environment. And when you walk around Cambodia, you just see, I love this country, but you see garbage everywhere, just scattered about, and they don't have the education to realize how bad for the environment it is. We don't really have a lot of education about recycling, and so people will just take plastic and after they eat whatever they were eating out of the bag, they'll throw it on the ground, and it just covers everything. So that's something that we're working on. The other question was, do they have electricity? And we do. For the most part, everybody has electricity. There's very, very few people who don't have electricity in their homes, in the markets. It's not always as reliable as it is in the United States. So a power outage is very, very normal. In my area where I live, it usually comes back pretty quickly. We have volunteers in other areas where it could be out for a very long time. And so what they'll end up doing is charging a lot of their electronics with car batteries. And so if you don't have electricity, or you don't have a steady flow of electricity and the power's out, you'll take a car battery, you'll plug up your electronics to that, and get the electricity and the power that way. For the most part, material things we have access to, but that can also be a little bit frustrating because all of the material things, the iPhone, cell phones, computers that we have in the US, the cars, it took us a long time to build up to having those things. So we had infrastructure and a base of education and basic education and hygiene care for yourself before we had all of these things. Here in Cambodia, they have all of these things before having that basic infrastructure. And so it can be a little bit frustrating to see children playing on iPads, but they have no teeth because no one ever taught them that they need to brush their teeth twice a day. And so you'll see like 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds whose teeth are completely rotted out already. You've got adults who no one ever taught how to wash their hands properly. They didn't know you were supposed to use soap and water, and that the water should be running. And these are intelligent people. They can do things that I don't know how to do. They have a different set of skills than I have, but they just have never been taught how to do things that we've always known. We've known since we were in preschool to go in and wash our hands with soap and water, and they haven't. How do I have a computer? Like I said, everything is available. However, electronics are going to be very expensive here. I brought my computer with me from the United States. Most volunteers do bring their computers with them from the US. Are there stores to shop? There are, but not really in the village. Shopping is a totally different experience in the villages. We have markets. If you watch the video about like going to Cayo to get a dress that shows a market, I'll try to make another one that shows how we shop here. But they're big kind of open markets where you go and you bargain your prices, you talk to an individual seller. So one seller will be selling meat, you'll go over to another seller who has a certain fruit you want, another seller will have the vegetables, sellers will be selling food that you can eat in the morning. And for the sellers that sell like meat and vegetables, clothes, you try to argue the price. So they'll start higher, you'll go lower, and then you make a compromise with each other, and you take the deal, you go with it. In Phnom Penh, in the capital, we have just about everything you can think of. We have stores, we have a lot of Western places to eat. And if I go to the provincial town, I can go to like mini marts, but not within my village. How is education different? In America, we are very lucky to have access to high quality education. And I know that in Cambodia, these are good people who are trying very hard. In the 1970s, there was a war in Cambodia, and it wiped out all of the educated people. The majority of teachers, professors, educated people, people who spoke any language other than Khmer, were all killed. And as a result, the educational structure had to be entirely rebuilt. They had 4 years where they didn't have education. They didn't really have schools except to try to educate young children to think like the people who were doing all of these killings. That's very hard to come back from. And so now we still see the effects of that. And we still see the effects of what happens when you take out all of your educated people. Children here in primary school go to school usually a half day in the provinces, and sometimes that's due to lack of space to accommodate all the children for a full day. So half will go in the morning, half will go in the afternoon. Sometimes it's a lack of teachers, so you have to have your teachers teaching both sessions, but they'll go either in the morning or in the afternoon. In my area, and within a lot of Cambodia, you've got students who go to private classes a lot. And so to get a better education, to supplement what you aren't getting, you've got to go to the private classes. If you watch the video of Sapea, she goes to private classes in the morning from 7 until 11, then comes home for lunch. Our students do go home for lunch. You don't stay at the school. And then she goes back to school from 1 to 5. And that's her public school, 1 to 5. And in the morning was the private school. And then in the evening, she studies from 6 to 7 at another private class for English. If you don't study in private classes, you're only getting like half an education here. And that can be very difficult, especially for the very poor families. Like Sapea's family makes a lot of sacrifices. They don't have a lot of money, and they've got 2 children who they're trying to pay for private classes for both of their children, as well as their kids going to public school. The other question I had was, is it one schoolroom for all the grades? And it's not. Each grade has its own classroom. But in the high school, you're sorted each class. So I teach 10th grade, and I have 7 different classes of 10th grade. So 10A, 10B, 10C, 10D, 10E, and 10F. Okay, 6 different classes. And you don't switch who you're in class with, and you don't switch your classroom. If you study in grade 10A, it's because you are the highest ranked in your class, and so that's your classroom. Those are your classmates all the time, those same 40 kids. It's usually about 40 kids in the class. And as the teacher, I don't have my own classroom. I go to the 10A classroom, or I go to the 10C classroom. And the students are in charge of the classroom. They're in charge of cleaning it. It should be ready for me when I get there. What are the houses like? Do they have dirt floors? Houses are all different. I mean, we've got different houses, so I don't want to put one narrative in it. Usually, no, we don't have dirt floors. It's usually tile or concrete or wood. So it's very common for houses to be built on stilts, because during rainy season, it can flood very easily, and if it's up high, that helps prevent the flooding. My house, the ground level, we're not on stilts, but we've got the ground level that's tiled, and tile actually handles the water well as well. And then if you go upstairs, that's wooden, and it's just a wood floor, wood structures. Our roof is a tin roof, which is really loud when it rains. The house that I lived in for training for 2 months was a wooden house built on stilts, and then the bottom is underneath the house was concrete, except for one area that was tiled, and you don't wear your shoes on the tiled floor. And so, but that was very open. And the same like at Sampaya's house, it's very small, and the bottom floor is tiled. But then upstairs where she sleeps, it's just wooden floor, and then a wooden floor, and they sleep on a mat on top of that wooden floor. Um, but houses are different. I'll try to put a few pictures to show differences, and maybe in the future I'll make a video doing some house tours because I want you to see the differences. What is the weather like year round? Is it always warm? There are two distinct seasons in Cambodia. We have rainy season and dry season or hot season. It's about 6 months for rainy season and 6 months for hot season. It's a kind of a complicated question if it's always hot, because the American answer would be yes. It is always hot. For us and for the Cambodians, no. Like, I'm acclimated to the Cambodian climate. And so this month for us is actually a little bit chilly. It's like, we think it's chilly. And I've been talking to people in the US, and I'll be like, oh man, it was so cold this morning. And they'll be like, really? Really? How cold? I'll be like, it was like in the low 80s, high 70s. And they're like, it was 7 today. Like 7. And you're like, oh, it was cold. It was the high 70s. Monsoon season, it just pretty much every day you get torrential downpour. It's so much rain, and we need that. We really do, because the rain will make it so we can plant rice. If we don't have enough rain, we can't plant rice in the traditional Cambodian way. We fill cisterns with that rainwater, and a lot of families depend on that to drink, to bathe, to cook. So the rainwater is very important. Hot season can be very difficult. And in April, it's the hottest time of the year, and it got up this year to like 110. We were all just dying. All the Cambodians are dying. Everything shuts down for that month. So we're all just like laying on the tile floor or in front of our fans, just trying to stay cool. And there's like no hope. But that's hot season. And then, is there something we can do as a Take Action project to help girls in Cambodia? Peace Corps does a lot of projects, and one way that you can support Peace Corps or support individual volunteers is to go onto the website that is donate.peacecorps.gov and look at different projects for individual volunteers, and you can donate to them. You can look at the projects per country, or you can look at different sectors like women and girls, Let Girls Learn, youth development, water and hygiene, and I'll link that below. And then I think another thing that's just really important is to care, to learn about other countries and the lives of people in other countries, and not take for granted what we have in the United States. And I believe that there is something that everyone can do. I think everyone has a role to play. And so even if you're young, you can still study and learn about other countries and teach other people about the lives of people in other countries. You can work with your parents and say, all right, if I do these chores for a week, can we take my allowance and donate it to this cause that I'm really passionate about? But find what you're good at, find what you're passionate about, and do that. And you will help a lot of people that way. So I hope that those answers helped some. And thank you so much for having me. Good luck with all that you do. Bye.